kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck over and get on the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
Jets, Jets. What's up, everybody? GreenBean back with this week's installment of the Thursday Thick of It. I am very excited for this show. I really am. I've been looking forward to it all day, watching things, reading things, looking at stuff, imagining what it would be like when we were all here together. As you know, we have a guest coming on tonight, as has been pretty standard, but tonight's guest, Ali from Loyal New York Jets fans, is down there in Mobile. We were able to spend some time with him on Jets Talk 24/7 on Monday, and we have him here, or Tuesday actually, and we have him here tonight. So I am extremely excited. I have things I need to know, you understand. But before we do that, let's bring in our good friend and co-host from Flatbush. Here comes Frankie. What's going on, buddy?
GreenBean, it is a great day to be a Jet fan because not only are we in the Senior Bowl coaching up all these kids, it's also the first Thursday in 22 years where Tom Brady is not in the NFL.
Oh my God, what a great thing to say, Frankie. How wonderful.
And here's what I have to say about that. Na 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 na
na
na na
na na na. Hey, hey, hey.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Yeah.
That
was good.
Hey,
hey. Goodbye.
Or as Harry Gold would say from Entourage, get the funk out.
You have a delightful singing voice, Frankie, I must admit. That was good.
Thank you.
I like this. This is the first Thursday Thick of It with Tom Brady not in the NFL. This is the first Thursday period without Tom Brady in the NFL since the 90s. I think I was 26 years old when that game happened where Mo Lewis, one of my all-time favorite Jets, just decleated Drew Bledsoe, and in strolled this doofy, muscle toneless goof to ruin the next 20 years. I'm telling you, it was crazy.
He was the fourth guy on their depth chart when in his rookie year. Fourth. They carried four quarterbacks that year, and he was number 4.
You know, we could say it. There's a way to say this. We could say he's our Wayne Chrebet. Wayne Chrebet was 12th on our depth chart when he first walked on. Number 12. So Tom Brady, all Tom Brady is really is our Wayne Chrebet. That's all it really is.
Yeah, except that Wayne Chrebet doesn't have any World Series, any Super Bowl World Series, any Super Bowl ring, any Super Bowl ring. And Tom Brady has 7, so that's a little different.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's overrated, man. So let's say hello to some people in the chat, Frankie. Braden Bethwaite, who number one, I want to say hello to Braden and thank him for hanging out last night in the Patreon group that we had. Dom C, Braden, and we were able to break down some safeties and spend some real quality time. It was amazing. But Braden has an interesting point. And I'm going to put it up there before I continue to say hello. I just wanted to take a second. I saw this in the chat, and he says, to make myself feel better, I watch Panthers Nation mock drafts. They have the 6th overall pick and then nothing until the 4th round, and they're talking about taking a quarterback at 6. Jeesh. So, guys, I just want to use this comment to remind everyone, we like to gripe, we like to complain, we like to woe is me, but the Panthers were supposed to be somebody this year. They were supposed to be somebody. They had the number 1 defense. They had DJ Moore. They had Robbie Anderson. They had, D-Mac. They had Chuba Hubbard. They had, what's the other wide receiver? Terrace Marshall. Yeah, McCaffrey. Yeah, right. So they had all these guys, don't forget Joe Brady was being interviewed for head coaching jobs last year. They were supposed to be a juggernaut. And here they are. The guy they traded for they know damn well Sam Darnold ain't it at this point. They know it. Now they're locked into him for $20 million this year. But guys, you look at what systematic improvement looks like, and you look at somebody who took a swing for the fences and missed. That's Matt Rule, and that's the Panthers. So, Braden, I want to thank you for bringing that up. That's a good counterpoint, man. Rusty Spooner is here. John Hepburn is here. Matthias Simon, what's up, Matt? Vafadoost is in the house. New York Sports MC. It's going well, MC. Good to see you, bud. Submission 72. Braden again. Braden, look at it. Braden's everywhere. Jets Mess is here. Philip Bogachuk. Yeah, Bogachuk. I love it. Another Thursday, indeed, right? GreenBean and Frankie together again. Curly Norman. Bismo Charismo from the land down under. He's here. Gasper and friends. Duncan McLean. So many of you guys. FOC, Finkelstein, Hank is here. Salty Nuts. They're all here. I thank you guys. Again, we have a fantastic show for you. I'm really excited about this one. And I want to also take a second and remind everybody, Jeremy Cravat, NFL Chaos with Jeremy is in the background. He'll be in the chat as well all night. And if you need a comment, you want me to see it, number one, you can use super chats. Jeremy will help me see that. But if you really want to pester someone, you can do that with Jeremy as well. If we're just not seeing it, Jeremy will do his best. He's good. He's scanning the chat. And Watsuke is here, and he'll be on later with some information. And as it's becoming somewhat of a tradition, the trivia. I think he's stumped us 3 weeks in a row, man. I don't like it, quite frankly. So we gotta be able to answer this guy's questions, chat. This is bullshit, quite frankly. We're supposed to know our stuff, and Y2K has stumped us. So yeah, man. So Frankie, first thing I want to talk about, I want to push this aside and get it out of the way, but I do want to acknowledge it. Is we had a retirement this week. A guy named Cameron Clark, a 4th round pick, number 129, did retire. Any thoughts on that? I mean, I'm saddened by it. I had hope for him, but what are your thoughts on the Cam Clark retirement?
Well, it's very sad, and you feel bad for the young man, but there's nothing he could have done. The person I follow on Twitter who knows basically everything about every injury and is always right about everything. I think his name is Dr. Chow. He said, with a spinal cord injury, there's nothing you could do. He had no decision to make. He could not come back. It's not like, oh, he's not tough or he should have done more rehab or something. You just cannot take a chance on playing a contact sport when you have a spinal cord injury like this. So he had no choice. It was his life. It was a life choice, and he basically had no options. He had to retire. So it's just sad. You feel bad for him, and you wish him the best with the rest of his life. And hopefully he planned for this. And that's why when you see guys doing commercials and doing podcasts and doing anything they can to do other things other than football, and you go, why are they doing that? Well, at any time you could have a Cam Clark situation where you get a spinal cord injury. It's not your fault. And all of a sudden you're out of it, and there's nothing you can do. He can't come back. There's just no chance of it. And so you feel bad for him. That's for one thing, and you wish him well, and hopefully he's got something else going. And it's as far as the Jets are concerned, now we have one fewer guard. I mean, we have one fewer offensive lineman depth wise, and now it increases the chances that we retain GVR. So that's bad news. But the good news, I guess, is that we now have $1 million extra of cap space. So there's that. But I mean, that's the way I see it. It increases the chances we keep GVR, but we get $1 million back on the cap. So, as far as the Jets are concerned, those are my thoughts.
Yeah. And look, I like how you said that. I mean, look, I'm sad for the guy. I really am. He was someone that I thought was an outside chance. Like, I actually did some research on him before the 2020 draft. He was way on the peripheral, but when we got him, I was like, ooh, I actually like that guy. Like, this was a guy that I thought was a good prospect, not to come in and maybe start right away, but I liked him. And, especially when he lost his first season, I thought he was going to come in last year and win the starting job. And in my opinion, I think that's what the Jets' plans were. They had a 3-way battle at that spot. But when you talk about a spinal cord injury and you say there's really no decision to make. You can't tinker with it. Like maybe he comes back in game 3 and he loses his legs. Like he got another chance with that, avoiding paralysis, like for the first little while, he couldn't move anything and then he got it back, and that's that chance. But the positive as far as just the team goes, obviously there's no positive other than he gets to walk and have full functions. But as far as the team goes, like you said, we do get $1 million back. But in addition to that, now we know, like, I think they would have kept that spot for him and gave him the chance to do the thing and try to get the spot. But now we know. And it's like, there's one less guy. So GVR, the only way he's coming back is as a depth piece. I cannot imagine that they would want him starting, but I got to think too, they might not even want him as a depth piece, man, because they already know what he can do when he does go in there. If the guy gets hurt and he goes in, he's a train wreck. So Becton got hurt because of him directly because of GVR's inability to block his guy. And then you had obviously so many Zach Wilson hits and just on and on and on and on. So LDT is a big question mark. GVR is a question mark. Cam Clark is retired. You have guys like Pierschbacher, and as much as I like Pierschbacher as like a long-term reserve, a guy that's around for 8 years, like I like that stuff. I like having guys that are here in your depth, a long-term backup quarterback, all that stuff. But the truth is, now we know, hey man, we have work to do, and this has got to be the year that Joe Douglas shores up the offensive line once and for all. Like it has to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, all we really have, so we have 4 solid guys if you consider Becton solid. So it's Becton, Vera, Tucker, McGovern, and Fant. Those are guys that are going to start, barring anything crazy. Then you have guys like Greg Van Roten, who knows we can cut him and save $3.5 million. Okay, but then all you really have is Parker Ferguson and Chuma Edoga, and who knows what those guys. And then you have the depth guys: Grant Hermans, Ross Pierschbacher, Drew Samia, and Isaiah Williams, and they're all practice squad guys. So, yeah, we have a lot of work to do. We're going to lose, if we don't resign him. We got LDT, Dan Feeney, Connor McDermott, Morgan Moses, all leaving, and Greg Sinat that we picked up lately. So we're losing all those guys, probably, unless we resign them. And so it's a big question mark. Now, the good thing is if we do decide to spend big in that area, we could sign a guy like Laken Tomlinson. But I was looking at Joe Thuney's contract. The Chiefs paid Joe Thuney a lot of money. I don't know if you realize, GreenBean, we were all upset last year. Why didn't Thuney come here? It's because the Chiefs paid him a ton of money. He's going to be making $17, $18, $19 million the next few years. He was cheap this year. They structured it out because I think they thought, well, we're going to the Super Bowl next year. We'll figure it out later. Well, you didn't go to the Super Bowl, and now you're going to have to pay the piper, and it's going to be costly. And so if you think Laken Tomlinson is like Joe Thuney, I mean, that's gonna eat up a ton of our cap space just to sign a right guard. So we might be, Zach Wilson in the chat I see is saying sign LDT. Looking at these numbers, I'm thinking LDT is looking like a better value if we can get him at a decent cost, relative to some of these other guys like Daniels or Connor Williams or Laken Tomlinson or even Brandon Scherf, who's the top of the market. I mean, a guy like LDT, you might be able to get for a reasonable cost. You plug him in, and then you draft someone behind to push him.
Well, it's interesting. I think LDT should be re-signed if he's coming back to the NFL. As we know, there are some issues with his Canadian medical license, and I didn't hear any resolution to that. I don't know where it went, but we know that that's out there as well, and there is the potential that he doesn't come back to the NFL. If that's the case, and obviously he's off the table, but if he does want to come back to the NFL, in my opinion, Joe Douglas should be first at the door. He should be like, all right, well, you're ours and we want to keep you. And that should be the way it goes. But even if we do sign him, I really don't want to see him given the starting job. He should have to battle it out with someone else. Now, I do think that we should go in free agency because rather than having that battle, the right guard battle that ended up last year because of crazy happenstance. Alex Lewis retires, Cam Clark almost gets paralyzed, and now we're scrambling trying to sign guys off the scrap heap. None of them worked out except for the LDT trade, the 2/3 into the season. I don't want to get into that situation. And I really think that Joe Douglas should pay someone in free agency. A few names you brought up Laken Tomlinson. He's only 29 years old, so he's just about to go over that 30-year-old hump there, but he's still playing at a high level. And I think he's got a few years. Scherf, I hope they stay away from. He's going to want $14 to $16 million a year, maybe more. And the truth is that I don't think he's ever had a full season. I mean, maybe one. It's usually 13 games, 11 games. 1 year he had 8 games. I think he had 14 was his most. So who the hell wants that? You know what I mean? I don't. I mean, he's 30. He's going to be 31. And eventually 32, Frankie. I just know it. So he's gonna keep getting older, as we know, and he's never played a full season when he was younger. So obviously, this is probably going to be exacerbated by his age. And I'd hate to see us get in to a deep, monetary situation with him, and then he's not even playing for us. But guys like James Daniels, I see Braden Bethwaite mentioned him in the chat. He's a guy that I put on my first off-season master plan video. I mean, he's going to cost anywhere from 7, 10 to 10 million, somewhere in there. And he would absolutely shore up the guard spot. He's 24 years old. I mean, that's the kind of guy. He had his best season. He's had a statistically better season. I think it was every single year that he's played, last year being his best year. So he's on an upward trajectory, and he's 24. That's the guy. Go there and give him a, $2/3 more or 1 million more than the next guy. Do it. Get it done. No question marks. Then you can take the urgency off the draft, Frankie, and you can start to maybe push the interior offensive line to the second of our second round picks, or maybe the third round. You get some of these guys, a Darian Kennard, maybe even the hell's his name, Cole Strange, in the fourth, fifth, something like that. You can do that if you have the free agent starter. If you had to pick one of the free agent guards, which one are you leaning towards there?
Well, I like Laken Tomlinson because he comes from the 49ers, so there's going to be no learning curve in terms of our system. He's going to come right in. Point. He doesn't have to pick it up. It's a plug and play. Now, here's my question to you, GreenBean. In terms of quality, Joe Thuney is going to get being paid $19 million starting this year. 19.
Right.
Talking. So in terms of quality, how much worse or better is Laken Tomlinson than Joe Thuney, in your opinion?
Well, I haven't looked at the statistic. I mean, I don't know, but
because I'm trying to determine
I think
where he's going to come in. Like if I have to pay Laken Tomlinson $18 million, I'm not doing that. But if I can get him for 12, okay, now I'm interested.
Yeah, Thuney isn't Thuney 3 years younger than Laken Tomlinson, if I remember correctly, 2 or 3 years younger. So there's that.
I don't think so. Well, no, I don't think so. I think they're about the same age.
Thuney's 27 years old, isn't he? Or 28?
I don't think so.
Yeah. All right. Either way, I think I'm confident that Thuney is younger, but maybe not. So there's that. But I would put them in the same tier as far as their playing goes. What they do on the field. But again, I think the main benefit, like you just said, would be ease of transition. That's one of the benefits with Laken Tomlinson. The truth is, I don't think we need to pay $18 million for an interior offensive lineman, because then once you start talking about $18 million for one of these guys, that's when the logic of using an early draft pick starts to creep in. You're like, why would I pay this guy $18 million when I can take the second best guard in the draft and pay him $2 million or $3 million, wherever it is that you get him a year? That's where once you start getting past the 12, 13, it starts to inch. It's weird. It goes over this hump into higher price range, but at the same time, it starts to circle back into logic for the draft pick. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, look at that. As it gets more expensive, it actually means I'm moving toward taking somebody in the draft instead. That's what it does. So I like Laken Tomlinson. I really do. And I think, like I said, what your point was, that his transition would be one of the main benefits of him coming. But I got to say, 24 years old, a guy like James Daniels really turns me on, Frankie. I mean, I also like Connor Williams from the Cowboys. He's 25 years old. There are guys out there that are not going to command the 16, 18 million like Scherf, and maybe, I don't know if Tomlinson's going to cost that much, but I think 15, 16, something like that. But still,
Ephraim has it
Thuney,
in the
that's
chat. Yeah, Ephraim has it in the chat. Lakin and Thuney are the same age. And so
interesting.
And so, like Williams and Daniels are guys who would have an advantage because of that age. So that's very attractive about those guys, but they're not as good as Thuney and Tomlinson. I wonder if Tomlinson, I mean, Thuney's contract is crazy. He's going to be making 17.8 this year. Then he goes to 18.9. Then he goes to 19.4 for 2 more years. They're going to be paying him $19.4 million to play guard, not even a tackle. I mean, that is crazy. And we're wondering why he didn't come here. I'll tell you why. He got a crazy contract from the Chiefs, and they thought they were going to the Super Bowl this year when they were paying him 4.5, and then they escalated it at the end. They said, we'll worry about it. We'll be the Super Bowl champs. Well, no, you're not. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, and that's the thing. When people did complain, it's like, okay, usually how the loser team like the Jets gets a player that's being bid on by a premier team in the league. How you get the guy is you overpay. That's how you do it. They're offering him 15, you offer him 15, or you offer him 16.5. Like that's how it has to go for 4 years, maybe even tack on another year. You gotta give him more to get him to go to the bottom of the pile instead of sitting at the top of the pile. The problem with Thuney is the top of the pile gave him the top of the cash as well. It's like, what are you going to do?
Bad. Yeah, they needed him so badly after that Super Bowl where Mahomes was running for his life. They were like, we got to get this guy here no matter what it takes. And boy, oh boy, it was highway robbery is what it took. But I mean, so and then you have to look at it. I'm going to put out a video about this probably by Saturday. You have to look at it in the totality of our cap situation. So if we have, one thing, one of my listeners, you want to call them, people who watch my video, Robert Killian, he might be in the chat, said, hey, our draft class is going to cost us $20 million. When I was putting out these videos, there's 19, Robert Killian right there, 19 plus. And he said, we basically have 2 draft classes in one. And it's great to have all these draft picks, but then you got to pay these people. And he made a great point. And I said, that's a good point because they're projecting us to have about 50 million right now before cuts and all that and restructures and everything. But right now we got about 50. Sounds good till you think, well, we got to save 20 for the draft class. So now we have 30. So if I got to pay Lakin 20, then I got $10 million. I can't have, what else am I going to get? So you kind of have to look at the whole picture because Berrios is going to cost 6 at least. And then what? Then you can't buy anything else. You can't get any tight ends. You can't get any, who else are you going to get?
Right. Yeah. It's a funny thing, like it's like, just like in the chat and we'll kind of bridge all these together, Frankie. Jason Valente is asking what we think about Falele, right? And this is an interesting thing with Jets fans just in general right now, just like we talked about with Joe Thuney and how we want, like Jets fans want to trade for Amari Cooper, who costs $20 million, all right, approximately $20 million. Then you want to go give Dalton Schultz $15 million. Then you want to get Sheriff, who's going to be $16 million.
At least.
Then you want, right, you know what I mean? And it's like, if we don't sign Berrios too, though, and if we don't, what about Fadukasi? You got to keep. So it's like at some point there's a wall you hit, right? But I don't think a lot of people. And look, it's not our job as fans to focus on that. So I get it, right? We talk about what we want, and that's the fun in it, and I get it. But then when it doesn't happen, we can't get upset. So like this Falele thing, it's really interesting to me because we have been told this season that Mekhi Becton is fat, right? That's what we've been told in numerous ways from numerous beat reporters. And Jets fans are, look, there is a large chunk of our fan base that is absolutely convinced that Mekhi Becton is going to be, in quotes, injury prone his whole career. Why? Because of his weight. That's the only reason. He was not injury prone in college. He started 14 games for us his rookie year. He had a lingering little shoulder thing or whatever. Word is they brought him back early and he's that kind of guy. He'll play injured and he ended up getting it worse, whatever. And then this year he gets rolled on, misses the season, and he's injury prone his whole career. But why? Because he's too fat. He's too big. He's 6'7" and he's 367 pounds. And then we turn around and say we want Evan Neal and we want Daniel Falele. I just want everybody to know Daniel Falele lost weight this year. He lost 20 pounds. to be 17 pounds heavier than Mekhi Becton. He lost 20 pounds to be heavier than Mekhi Becton. Okay. Evan Neal is 7 pounds less than Mekhi Becton. They are the same. Like when you get up into the 350s, Frankie, when you're talking 350 or 355, that's the same shit. When that falls out of the building, it makes the same splat. You know what I'm saying? There's no difference. So this is the thing. It's like, if we just to align what it is that we actually want and why, it needs to make sense. So when we talk about Falele, who, by the way, did have a little bit, he had a couple nice reps, but let me tell you, overall, I watched every rep from the first day's practice, and I watched probably 2/3 of the reps from the second day, maybe half of day 2's practice. There were numerous plays where Falele was made to look like a fool. He did, he had his plays too, but I mean, he got made silly, so made to look silly. So Falele, in my opinion, probably is going to be one of those guys that you take in the mids to late and let him simmer, work him, put him in your offseason program. I don't think that's the solution, this Daniel Falele character. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. But do you understand what I'm saying, Frankie? What is it about 367 that makes us so concerned? But 360 is fine, or 380. What is it, you think?
Well, some folks, I mean, it depends how you look at it. I mean, it's intriguing in a sense that, hey, if this guy can really move his feet, for that size, like a dancing bear, they call it, then that's really something, because then you could maul people and pancake everybody. I mean, and it's, and it's intriguing to think about that somebody could be an athlete that big and just maul everybody and handle these monsters that are coming for Zach Wilson's neck, and so it's intriguing. On the other hand, tackle right now isn't really our big problem, as we were just talking about. Guard really is. And we do have George Fant and we do have Mekhi Becton for the time being. Now, you're never done with offensive line, and we need lots and lots of depth. Also, our depth people, so Parker Ferguson's a tackle and Chume Edoga's a tackle. So some of our depth people who are on the 53-man, not the practice squad, are tackles. So we have some depth there. Not that those people are great. We don't know what Parker Ferguson is. He was injured all this year, but he's on the 53-man, and he's 23 years old, so he could be something. We don't know. But, that's why people are intrigued by Falele. It's just, okay, the size and the foot, he seems quick enough sometimes. And okay, if you have a dancing bear over there on right tackle, that could really be something. But at the same time, it is a risk. And that's a kind of risk, like the Chiefs could take that risk.
Right.
Some other team could take that risk. We need somebody who's more of a blue chipper, like people are talking about Zion Johnson. Love him. I would love me some Zion Johnson if I could get him in the second round, but he's probably not going to even last to the second round, probably. But if he did, I would love to have that guy. And then if we signed LDT before that, then LDT, they could battle it out, whoever wins. But I would suspect Zion Johnson would win, and then LDT is our backup. You teach him how to snap the ball, and he could back up, center and guard, both guard positions. Okay, fine, something like that. So I think our focus should be more that way, because we have Mekhi, and you have to, Mekhi is so talented. He's 23 years old, going to be 23 next year, 23. And he's so talented. We got to be rooting for him to do well.
Right.
And just hope that he can stay on the damn field and do what he can do, his potential is. And then you have a young guy, Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be 23. And, McGovern's going to be 29. Fant's going to be 30. So those guys are getting a little long in the tooth. And then so we'll have to replace them. But if you can plug a Zion Johnson in there, okay, that's 3 out of the 5 are young studs, hopefully, you hope. So,
yeah. Well, and look, when you talk about our need really is not tackle. Now, there is logic to taking the tackle. Like a lot of guys want, it's Neal or Icky, or I even heard somebody earlier, Chris Cross is making his way in, or Charles Cross. He's making the Mac Daddy make you jump, right? Isn't that Chris Cross? Remember those kids? Daddy make you. They wore their pants backwards. They had the pockets, the ass pockets in the front. Remember that? Daddy Mac and Mac Daddy.
They were almost as good as Milli Vanilli.
Almost. What's funny? You want to hear a little tidbit, Frankie? I go around to theme parks, as you know. I go to all the nation's amusement parks. I'm currently in San Antonio, Texas. But when we were up in Connecticut, there's a place called Lake Compounce, which is just this obscure little place. They do have a roller coaster that won best wooden coaster in the world like 7 times, 8 times, something like that. It's really fantastic. But the rest of the place is just small and insignificant. And they have a sign in there, like little historic markers. That was the place that had the show that Milli Vanilli's tape didn't work. And they got outed. Fucking Lake Compounce, Connecticut. They have a big sign. This is where it happened, everybody.
What else are they going to sign about?
I know. Oh, Axl Rose didn't show up for a show there, or something like that. It's a whole bunch of funny stuff. So Scott Wilson checks in with a super chat. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. He wants to know, I think this one's for you, Frankie. Is there a position you could see the Jets select in the draft much earlier than fans would expect? Interesting. So what do you think? What's the position that Joe Douglas, similar to 2020 when we took Ashton Davis, everybody went, what? And then followed that with James Morgan. Everybody said, what the fuck is going on? Gabriel Davis is on the Antonio Gandy Golden. What do you think this year the position will be that surprises fans?
Well, I think it's going to be defensive lineman. Sorry to tell you. I think we're going to get an edge. I think we're going to get an edge in the first round, one way or another, 4 or 10. And I could see us picking up another defensive lineman, maybe in the second round even. Because if you look at our D-line depth, it's not good. I just put out a video about the defensive line. We have about 6 guys. And, Saleh likes to roll 8 deep. So he's going to get an edge guy to pair with Lawson, I think. That's 7. And then you have Bradley and I. You could roll with Bradley and I, okay, but maybe he's a developmental. We don't know what he is. You could roll with Jonathan Marshall, but I think they're going to want to solidify a little more, and I think they're going to pick a defensive lineman to go with that 8-man group because Saleh's defense, you need 8 high-quality players, not just anybody. And right. So I think that he's going to want to fortify that more than people think currently.
Well, and think about this, Fadu Kasi is a free agent. Kyle Phillips is a free agent. Kyle Phillips could be. Kyle Phillips is a restricted free agent. Still free agent. Yeah, we have some rights.
We can get him. Yeah, we can get him for about 2.3 if we give him the what's it called, the restricted free agent. I forget what it's called. The one where it's not assigned a draft pick. The free for all. It costs about 2.3 million to bring him back, and I think we probably will.
We call that the old stickaroo. That's what we call that.
The old stickaroo.
Not
a technical term.
Hey, what do you want to do with Kyle Phillips? Give him the old stickaroo. He'll stick around. The old stickaroo. So I think that's it, Scott. I think Frankie's answer is really good. I think that that would make a lot of Jets fans surprised. Let's just say it like that. I mean, even last year when we took James Marshall, the last couple rounds of last year's draft had me, I didn't even know what the hell was going on. I'm like, another safety, 2 safeties, 3 cornerbacks, and the fucking defensive tackle. I'm like, what is going on here? But as we know, last year's class was pretty strong. And dude, just because guys like Sherwood and Nasruddin and even some of the undrafted free agents like Hamilcar Rashid, even though those guys didn't like come out of the wrapper all built already and done, doesn't mean that they don't still have potential as well. There's a lot of potential in that draft class, and it's really important that we build on it. But I liked what they said about the trenches. I mean, I like it. But at the same time, I'd rather them keep Kyle Phillips and Fadu Kasi than use a draft pick on it. But Fadu Kasi is going to be expensive. I think this is his payday, and he's going to get it, rightfully so, man. He's a 6th-round pick who he's McCagnon's only late-round pick that did something. Think about that. The only Mike McCagnon late-round pick that did something. You can make a case for Blesson Austin. He's still in the NFL. You could try to make a case for Blake Cashman. You could, but it's going to be a weak case, Frankie. You're going to lose that case, but you can try.
I hate to lose Foley. He's a great leader. I'm assuming we're losing Foley and we're losing Nathan Shepard as well. Now, Nathan Shepard, I don't think any Jet fan is going to miss too much. But I think we are going to miss Foley because Foley's a heck of a leader. He's a great guy on the team. I just wish he would have played better this year, Foley. Come on, buddy. He had a down year.
He played earlier. He was good. He had a really tough half of the season.
Yeah. He played okay, he just didn't play well enough to make us go, he's got to be here. And I think with the cap issues, I think they're gonna let him walk. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm sad too. I think this is Foley's last year as a Jet. I mean, hey, we've been surprised before, so who knows? But like for example, Jordan Jenkins and Brian Poole. Remember that? We thought they were definitely goners going into the 2020 season, and then out of nowhere, Jordan Jenkins, Brian Poole signed. So it was like, oh wow, what happened there? So who knows? Maybe we keep Foley. Maybe Hey Frankie, real quick, what do you think? What do you think of Berrios? You think it's going to happen? I think Berrios is asking for 10 mil. What do you think?
Well, if he's asking for 10 mil, then it's not happening. Right. I mean, his
you wouldn't do it.
Well, Joe Douglas is not going to do that. I mean, his market value is 6, so we could give him 6.5, 7, maybe 8 is pushing it. But if he's asking for 10, he's not worth 10. I mean, the spot track market value for him is 5.9. So, I mean, I guess that they're right. I mean, spot track is not the Bible, I don't know, but I think that's probably in the ball. That sounds right to me. And if you want to push it to 6.5 to 7, I'm okay. But 10, I mean, he's not worth 10. He's a wide receiver 4 who plays specials. That's what he is.
Why can't he be? And this is just devil's advocate. Number one, why can't he be a wide receiver 3? Why not? Like, let's say you get, you got Corey. Sure, he can.
Yeah, because the
I hear you, but
wide receiver 1 through 3 are the offensive coordinator choice, and they play X, Y, and Z. The wide receiver 4 is the guy who's the combo. That's why he's so perfect. So if you wanted to elevate him to 3, then we'd need a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson or somebody like that who's a combo dude. And those guys are hard to find. That's why he's perfect at a wide receiver 4. I kind of wish he didn't make All Pro this year, because he would have been great to sign. He would have been great to sign as wide receiver. He's the perfect role player for that. He just really is. But now that he made All Pro, he wants to maximize his earnings, and you can't blame him. But I bet that's what they're going back and forth about. So for me, I think he's the perfect wide receiver 4. He's a combo guy, does everything you want. And, if you think about it, Denzel Mims should really be wide receiver 3. Hello, Denzel, earth to Denzel.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's get going, buddy.
Good.
It really should be Elijah, and it should be Corey, Elijah, and Denzel with Berrios at 4, and then Jeff Smith at 5. It's a great room if Denzel could fulfill his potential. I mean, right now, no, but.
Yeah, whatever experiment they did just didn't work. Hopefully there's a hard reset. And the coaches, because look, it's the coach's job to figure out the best way to develop each different guy. Like even what we're doing with the medical stuff. The reason why this medical team is so much ballyhooed is because they're trying to implement something called player-specific protocols, which is significantly different than what teams. I mean, you would think, of course, they pay attention to play, but that's really not the case. They have, 70 guys, and they kind of just institute a basic overview kind of mentality. And then they'll fix this guy's ankle and that guy's finger or whatever it is, of course. But what they're trying to do is from diet to sleep patterns to workout everything player specific. So the same thing should really apply to development. Like, a guy, what's going to work for Corey Davis isn't going to work for Berrios, and on and on and on. So whatever they did, I really do hope they push a hard reset, because he's 23 as well, man. It sucks to have to give up on 23-year-old guys, Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims, and Gitmo Bob brings up another one, Jabari Zuniga, who, I tell you what, the problem with a guy like Zuniga, where Mims is not concerned, but Becton is this year, is that he literally can't stay healthy, man. I mean, that's been the problem with him. And that's the one player that Joe Douglas took in the 2020 draft that had the injury concern coming in. Obviously, Bryce Hall was injured, but he wasn't an injury-prone guy. Zuniga was injury-prone, and he took a swing at him. So I don't know. I like Zuniga's tape. I like what he does. I like his player profile and all that stuff, but I don't know, man. His injuries. I mean, he came in this year, had that 1 sack and forced fumble, and then he got nicked up the next week, and he kind of went back, and like that's, so what can you do with a guy like that. You can only keep a guy around for so long that can't get on the field, which is like Blake Cashman, who we just brought up. In my opinion, Blake Cashman needs to go, man. I mean, not saying he's not talented, not saying I wasn't rooting for him, but the guy needs to go, man. You know, because and here it is. Cashman is brittle, right? New York Jets, Florida, right, man? Zach Wilson says, don't even say the name Blake. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I won't anymore. I will not say it.
It's really a shame about Blake Cashman. The dude was a tackling machine at Minnesota. He was really good, and he was a 5th-round steal, everybody said, and he just can't stay healthy. He's got to go, and we need to clear out space for we got to hope Sherwood comes back and Hampstead develops, and then we have CJ and Quincy, and then I think we draft one, and then there's your linebacking core. But yeah, a guy like Zuniga is he's got a shot. We roll with 8 defensive linemen. It's not like Mims with the numbers game, and this guy's got to be special teams, and that guy's got to be a gunner, and this and that. For Zuniga, all he's got to do is play, and he can get in there. We carry 8 defensive linemen every single game on the active roster, and they all get on the field. Even Nathan Shepard was able to get on the field. So if Zuniga can do something, there's plenty of opportunity here. Plenty. And so it's just, I mean, it's up to Jabari. He's got to show it.
That's just it.
No lacking for opportunity here. So,
yeah, well, that's just it. And like Tammy McDaniel says, she's done. She says Mims and Becton are bust. Douglas got a donut. I disagree. I do, Tammy, but it's easier to say that side of the argument. There's more to support that side right now. So there it is. But again, when you're talking about 23-year-old guys who not only have extensive college tape, very, very successful, but also had very strong rookie years. People forget Mims when he came in. He had a good second half of the year, man. It wasn't like, he didn't do anything for 2 years. I mean, he had every reason for Jets fans to be excited about Mims and what he could do in this offense. And it was right out of the gate. It just, you could tell that whatever he was bringing that this coaching staff didn't like it. They didn't want it. They wanted something else. And that's just what it is, So we'll see where it goes. But I don't personally like giving up on 23-year-old guys. Guys like Blake Cashman, a problem with him, like Frankie said, he's super talented, but he already had two season-ending injuries before that. So you take a risk. 5th round, okay, you could take the risk. But McCagnon took that risk in the 5th round when we needed offensive linemen. And then he went to the 6th round and took another risk on a guy that the 2 previous seasons he had season-ending knee injuries with Blesson Austin. So I don't know. I don't know what the thinking is there. But Frankie, I'd like to get in. We have Ali coming on in a little bit. And before we do, I want to get into the bestest segment that we have here on this Thursday Thick of It. I think I'm ready, if you're ready, for Frankie's Facts.
That is the best. That's the best intro. I only have a few, and Watu-K99 in the chat, don't get mad at me. These are going to be kind of similar to the trivia questions you bring to the table, Watu-K, but I didn't find any kind of like fascinating statistics this week, so I have kind of trivia-ish stuff this week. With that being said, okay, it's the Super Bowl coming up. So Patrick Mahomes is the 2nd youngest quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Who is the youngest?
The 2nd youngest quarterback to win a Super Bowl. All right. Now, what era? You talking about common era?
Of all time.
Oh, okay. I thought you would be getting into BCE here, at least with us. Okay. So we got Rusty Spooner says Big Ben, and Mark Riz is saying Roethlisberger. So together they have Big Ben Roethlisberger. Is that correct?
That is correct. They got it.
Oh, wow.
Ding, ding, ding. And you're not allowed to look this up, chatters. You
Yeah.
can't go and Google stuff. Come on, let's be fair. So
Salty Nut said Hostetler. He came deep. He went deep for Jeff Hostetler. So that was good. Good job, guys. That was quick. I like that.
Roethlisberger was 23 years, 340 days old, won a Super Bowl. All right, question number 2.
Crazy.
This one involves a New York Jet. Emmitt Smith is the NFL's all-time leader in 1,000-yard rushing seasons. He had 11 of them. Can you name the 3 other players with at least 10 1,000-yard rushing seasons?
I can name 2. What do you got, chat? Don't look it up. We all know. I'm going to give us one answer because it's the easy one. We know that Curtis Martin had 10, and in his 11th, he would have been the only player to have 11 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, but he got hurt game 8, I think it was, and he ended up getting 687 yards or 867 yards, something like that. And we cried because we would have had solo possession of something, but nope. The Jets gods wouldn't let it happen. So we got Curtis Martin. I know another one, but who else we got? So let's see. The chat says they're saying Curtis Martin. Tammy says Walter Payton. Is he one of the other ones?
Walter Payton is correct.
Wow. That's it. And obviously we said Emmitt Smith. So Curtis Martin, Emmitt Smith, and Walter Payton, huh? That's interesting. There's one more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it? Mark Riz says
wrong. Frank incorrect.
No. Jeremy Cravat. Jeremy Cravat comes in 10 minutes later and it throws out Walter Payton. Is that correct? Freeman McNeil.
Incorrect. As much as I would love for it to be Freeman McNeil, it's not.
Yeah. Here's the other one I know. I see Finkelstein's got it, but before we do, Stud City says Thomas Jones. Is Thomas Jones correct?
Incorrect.
Here it is. It's right here. It's Brad Finkelstein with Barry Sanders. Is Barry Sanders the guy?
Barry Sanders is incorrect, but Barry Sanders is correct.
All right. Barry Sanders. Now, interestingly, Barry Sanders was the other guy that has 10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons that Curtis Martin is tied with and would have eclipsed if the Jets god said, no, you can't have that. That's what would have happened. Good. That was a good one. Good job, chat.
2 more. Only one quarterback receiver duo in the entirety of NFL history, one quarterback receiver duo has hooked up for 100 plus touchdowns. Who are they?
Chat. Curly Norman says Lamont Jordan. Is that correct?
Incorrect.
Y2K says Manning and Harrison. He's trying to defend his title as the trivia guy.
That is correct.
Oh!
Peyton Manning threw an NFL record 112 touchdowns to Marvin Harrison. Good job, Y2K99.
Yeah, wow, Y2K. We see all kinds of Montana Rice. I saw that was where I was thinking too, FOC. I see Gary Weber says Montana Rice. That sounds delicious. Montana Rice. Yum, 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 yum. I could go for some Montana Rice right now, Frankie. We see Manning and Wayne, Reggie Wayne. So it was, who was it again? Who won? What the hell was it?
Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison.
Marvin 8. Harrison. Ephraim, I actually went into the Marino book as well in my brain. I was looking through my little file Rolodex of useless stats and facts. And I was like, super duper Mark Clayton. I did all that stuff. I was even going to try maybe some Phil Simms, Baker. I know they're nowhere near it, but I was digging. That was good. That was a good one. You got another one for us?
Yeah, this is the last one. This is not a kind of a trivia one, but just an interesting fact. Career sack leaders among interior defensive linemen from the 2019 draft. Career sack leader. Career sack leader among interior defensive linemen from the 2019 draft. Do you know who leads the way? Probably you don't. And who might come second? Well, it's
Interior
Jones, interior lineman. Draymond Jones has 15.5 sacks. So he's number 1. Okay. Who's number 2?
Zach Wilson says Max Crosby. Is that right, Frankie?
Incorrect. Max Crosby's an edge.
Yes.
Number 2 is our very own Quinnen Williams with 15 sacks. And number 3, Jeffrey Simmons with 13.5.
I saw him moving around back there.
Live look at Jeremy reacting to the trivia.
Yeah, like, yeah. See, that's how deep of a fan Jeremy is. He hears a good stat about a Jet and he loses his brains right there. Blah! He's freaking out. We have very little to cheer for. Very
It's all
little.
the hot sauce. That's what, if you eat that much hot sauce, that's what happens to you.
Is that what it is? Oh, that was good. That was good. So Quinnen Williams he's number 1, or did you say number 2?
He's number 2. Draymond Jones has 15.5. Quinnen has 15. He's only half a sack behind.
Think about that, guys. So when we're talking about Quinnen being traded or oh, look, as Sergeant Mike said, somebody picked after Quinnen. That's funny, Sergeant Mike. I saw what you tried to do there. This is the answer. Actually smacks that joke down, baby. I see it. I see the joke. But so, look, Quinnen Williams is another one. How old is he, Frankie? Is he 24? Is he 23? I mean, the kid's so young.
Let me look.
He just got his braces taken off, and he's already second.
25.
He's 25 years old. He's second among all the interior defensive linemen taken from that area of the country that year on that Tuesday.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Hard to argue. Second best, but okay.
Second best.
Very close.
He's doing all right. He's doing all right. We need to we really do. We all know this, like, all jokes aside, we know Quinnen is a damn good football player. Now, is he what we thought when we, third overall pick and all? No, he has not done that yet. Do I think he can? I do. And I think if you get him some help, like just some legitimate edge, he doesn't have to be dominating or anything, just somebody else that the offense has to focus on a little bit. I think Quinnen's going to continue to get better. I like Quinnen Williams, but I am under no illusions that the third overall pick boasts that he was potentially the best player in that draft. We got 2 of those, Leo Williams and Quinnen Williams, the arguably the best players in the entire draft. I don't think he's met that, those expectations. But at the same time, I think Quinnen's a good piece, man. I really do. He's a rare Mike McCagnon hit, along with Fadukasi from the same draft. So how interesting. 2 defensive tackles when all we needed was an offensive lineman, Frankie. That's it. That's all we needed.
Yeah, well, that's what you get when you hire Mike McCagnon to be your GM. A lot of mistakes.
Crazy. Antjet says Q just turned 24, Frankie.
I have it on my spreadsheet, Ant, that he's turning 25, but I could be wrong. I have it. I'm working on a spreadsheet. People may not find that too surprising. Working on a spreadsheet for the next video where I look at the cap space we have and who we could sign and who's coming back and who are we cutting. So I have Quinnen on here at age 24. So I just assumed he was going to be 25 for next year. So I don't know. Could be wrong.
Maybe. Who knows, right? Numbers. They're all so dumb.
He's a young guy.
Yeah, he's young. So Salty Nut says he respectfully disagrees. Q is overhyped, should be much more for a third overall. Oh, yeah, no, I think I agree with that. I'm just saying I still like him. I think he has a lot of potential. I wouldn't want to trade him yet. I mean, if somebody says, hey, I'll give you 2 firsts for Quinnen Williams, you go, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? But I'm not looking to try. I wouldn't be dangling Quinnen Williams. I think he's a nice piece. I do. But you're absolutely right. And I think I said that a little bit, Salty Balls, is that for third overall, I mean, the expectations were through the roof. He was supposed to be, what did we hear? Aaron Donald, elite.
Well, yeah. He got hyped up. But on the other hand, let me see Quinnen Williams' season when I got Carl Lawson on the edge and I got Aiden Hutchinson on the other edge and I got JFM in the middle with Quinnen. Now let me see how Quinnen does. I got a feeling it's going to be a little different. That's how I feel about it.
I do. Yeah.
And I got a feeling our defense is going to be a little different. If we could get a couple of edge rushers and we get some people and we get linebackers who can tackle somebody and we get a safety who can play, this is going to be a little different.
Yeah. Well, and look, and Sergeant Mike brings up a good point. He's trying to come back from that joke of his that would really got shot down. He's trying to come back, Frankie. I think he does well. This is good, Sergeant Mike. He says, actually, with the Sala and the 50% snap count for the defensive line, maybe Quinnen Williams' stats are a little bit better than we think they are. Maybe they're that's actually a legitimate point.
I got to say, I put out a tweet, GreenBean, saying the NFL needs to stop with these counting stats. They keep putting these things out like this guy has 1,000 yards and this guy broke the record for passing yards and this guy broke the record for receiving yards. It's like, yeah, but how many snaps did they play? How many games did they play? At the very least, they have to go to a per game thing. We went to 17 games this year. All the records are being broken. Well, not really. I mean, if you have 17 games to break a record versus 14 or 16, it's different. But also I also said in that tweet, we need like per snap counts, per snap records.
Yeah.
Because it should be sacks per snap. Because if you're not on the field, how are you going to sack somebody?
Yeah, they don't care. It's like, well, and what about, like Mark Astino? They don't even factor in that the guy that broke his record, the guy laid on the ground for him. They don't even fucking count that.
Yeah, how about an asterisk? Brett Favre gave it up. What's up with that? Well,
Yeah,
Brett Favre's the greatest Brett Favre's the greatest competitor everybody's ever seen, except when it comes to giving Michael Strahan the sack record. Then he's not so competitive anymore.
And I believe, now look, I might remember it a specific way because I'm a fan but I was mad that day. I watched that whole game. My father is a Giants fan. I think I was watching it with him and I was telling him his loser guy isn't going to break my guy's record and all that kind of stuff. That's how we roll in the old GreenBean household. Screw you, Dad, that kind of stuff. But when that happened, I remembered it being at the end of the game where I was saying he ain't going to get it. Like, I watched the whole game. He was not going to get it. Like, he was being taken care of. He couldn't do it. So they gave it to him. And that's what bothers me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody could look that up. I feel like it was in the last few minutes of the game. And they just said, hey, you know what? He's not good. Let's give it to him. We're all pals. I mean, who likes Mark Astino? Everybody, I heard he was a jerk, something like that. And which, by the way, Mark Astino, I know I've argued with other Jets fans ad nauseum. I don't want to restart it, but I might potentially right now. The reason that Mark Astino is not in the Hall of Fame, there are a few reasons, but one is that the stat numbers weren't being kept. So, you saw those amended numbers. He actually had 70 more sacks than are being documented and all that kind of stuff. Number two is that he's one of the very few players that broke the strike line. He crossed over and went to work. Why? He said he wanted to help he respected his coach, blah, blah. It was because he needed the fucking money. That's why. He was broke and he couldn't do it. So he went and did that, and he was ostracized because of it. Number three, he was one of the first guys that was not openly, but really accused of being like on steroids. Like, they're all on steroids. I want everybody to know that. They're all on human growth hormone and all that stuff. And many guys have been doing this and that. Yeah. But Mark Astino was the first guy like that they kind of accused of it. But the truth is what it boils down to is they don't like him. It's a personality thing. They don't like Mark Astino. They've pushed him off to the side. But the truth is while Mark Astino's game wasn't he wasn't a great run stopper. We know that. He really, but as far as what he did, which is one of the most sought after aspects of the NFL game, getting past the offensive lineman to get to the quarterback, there was no one better than him. And I mean that. There was no one better. He was borderline unstoppable. He got those numbers when it was a running league. It was a running league. They were, tight formations, 2 tight ends, 12 persons. Like, that's what it was. It was, 3 yards a pop, 3-4 yards a pop. And it was primarily running. And Mark Astino lit the world on fire with his stat numbers. So did Klecko, by the way, who's, in my opinion, should be in the Hall before Mark Astino, because more well-rounded player. But Mark Astino's not in there because they don't like him. That's what it is. And there are reasons for it, but it's bullshit. He should be in there. And it angers me, Frankie. Do you feel similarly? Are you on the same perch?
I'll put it another way. It's hard to write the history of the NFL and professional football without the New York Sack Exchange. I mean, the New York Sack Exchange was an era in New York football that was incredible. And I think, not having those two guys in particular in there is ridiculous. It was the New York Sack Exchange. It was the most exciting thing going until Lawrence Taylor came along.
Right.
And it was the most exciting thing going. And it was amazing. And, not to recognize those guys because you didn't like his sack dance. Now everybody does a sack dance. He was the first guy to
That's
do
the
it.
other thing.
He should get credit for that. You know what? he should get credit for that. They hated him at the time, but now every single guy, if a running back has a 5-yard gain and you tackle him, they do a tackle dance. The guy just got 5 yards. What are you doing? Why are you dancing? They have a dance for that. So every guy dances now. So Gastineau should get credit for that. He was a groundbreaker as far as dancing goes. Nobody danced back then. So, it's crazy. The stats, the era that he was a definition of an era, and he and Klecko should both be in, and it's not even close.
Right. And that is such a great point. There was the game. I'm going to try to find the clip so I can show you guys, but there's the clip where Mark Gastineau sacked the quarterback on the Rams, and there was a huge fight with the Jets and the Rams, and they came, they attacked him. They didn't like, he was completely by himself. He was doing his thing, pumping up the crowd and doing his little sack dance. And they fucking attacked him from behind, and the Jets all jumped in. It's a big fight. And I believe it's Pat Summerall. This is how much Mark Gastineau was hated. The announcer, the professional, consummate professional Pat Summerall said, well, he might need to think about celebrating again. Like, that's what he said on the airwaves. Like, oh yeah, well, good, serves him right. Like, that's how hated he was. Now, dude, he would be revered. He was the first one. Now, look, Mark Gastineau also had his clams too. Like, we just might have won the Super Bowl if he didn't attack Bernie Kosar 18 seconds after the fucking guy threw the ball. Like, that late hit is one of the worst in Jets history. Like, it is. And they say that's because he was on steroids and he couldn't contain his madness. And okay, I'm with it. But overall, Mark Gastineau was an impressive football player. He was the best at one of the hardest things to find in the NFL, and that is a consistent pass rushing threat that he would be triple teamed and beat guys. He would be tripled. They'd put the guard, the tackle, and the tight end on you, blah, and he'd run right through him, and he was out of control.
But you know what else, GreenBean? The NFL struggles with their history as opposed to baseball. Baseball does a really good job, generally speaking, of their history and all the players who came before and all of the legends and, everything like that. Football has a little bit of a problem. It's not as good. And so here's a situation where you can rectify that. You put these guys in there. You have the New York Sack Exchange represented in the Hall of Fame, and you have all these crazy clips of those guys in that era, which will look tame compared to the modern era of dancing and all that. And you can rectify. Why wouldn't the NFL want to do that? Like, it's an injustice, and it's also, not good for the Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio itself. You should have something dedicated to these guys. I mean, it's and it would be better for the fans as well, because the young kids would love that. They'd be like, "What, this crazy wild man from the '80s? What's going on here?" And it would be great. And so it's very short-sighted of them not to do that, and it doesn't make any sense. It's crazy.
It really is crazy. And I think that's a really admirable way to say it and do it. Like, okay, if you don't want to go and grab Klecko because he had the off field, he got arrested and all the bullshit betting, whatever it was, I forget the details. He got into some legal trouble, and you don't want to have Gastineau because he broke the strike line and he danced and you don't like him. Okay, then put them in as a unit. Like, do something. The greatest sacking collection in New York sports history. Yes, Lawrence Taylor was one thing, but the New York Sack Exchange was insane, dude. They could not contain them. It was out of control. There was one year where Klecko had 20 and Mark Gastineau had 20 plus sacks. Like, that's how, we pay guys $18 million a year because they get 10 sacks. They get 10. Oh, you got 10 sacks in 16 games? That's less than one. Like, so you got less than one sack a game, and you're considered a pass rushing specialist. Gastineau had 23, dude. Think about that. 2 guys with 20 at the same time. Marty Lyons had 7. Salam had 5, and nobody ran on him. So it was like, come on. I'm getting pissed off. I really am.
It's crazy.
So we got to. And look, and one more comment, then we're going to bring Ali. I see Ali arrived. I'm so psyched. We have so many questions. I have beaten the Gastineau horse to its death. But I want to say one more thing. Jim Pock has a great comment. And he says, the thing with Astino, he didn't dance in your face. He didn't go rub your face and stuff. It was his own. He went away from everybody and he just danced with the crowd. He did a thing. It wasn't to rub anybody's face in it. It was exciting for him. And that's what it was. That's it. He wasn't a punk. He was just ahead of his time.
And the fans loved it, and everyone got all excited, and it was great for the fans, and it's great for the NFL. And let's keep this guy out. It's so dumb. So dumb.
Yeah, I agree. So I have 2 videos on deck about Astino and Klecko. I can't wait to show you guys. But I'm going to wait till after the Senior Bowl to do it. So speaking of the Senior Bowl, Frankie, I have a very, very special guest. He's probably the most tired fella that we know right now. He is everywhere. He's all over the place. And let's bring him on. Let's say hello. Ollie, are you ready, buddy? You good? Okay, let's bring him on and see how exhausted he is. Let's say hello to Ali. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
There's that hotel room. I feel like I live in that room. I've seen so much of you in there, man. You tired?
I'm exhausted. Yes, you can say that.
But this is the thing. It's a good tired, right? Like this is the stuff.
Yeah.
You're not tired because you were moving rocks for $8 an hour for some guy who abuses you, you know? Like this is good. This is good. And we're proud of you. I know I've said it before, but it's just so great to see somebody like one of our own, man, one of our own that's able to break through a little bit and get down there. And my first question first of all, do you know Frankie? This is Frankie. Frankie, that's Ali. Do you guys know each other?
We've seen each other around.
Yeah, we have.
Well, okay. Well, Frankie's good people. I think you'll like him, Ali. But first thing, how's it going down there? I mean, what's been going on? Like what's been your overall experience? Is it very positive? Is it excruciating? What's your overall view of your experience down there in Mobile?
Yeah, man, the energy is there. I feel like for both rosters, the national and the American roster, both teams feel like they have talent on both rosters. You saw guys step up with people opting out like Dotson. And there's so many people that just opted out, and a lot of people got a chance to showcase their talent. There's some positions that just don't have talent at all, and there's some positions that are crazy in talent, which is the tight ends. So it's the full energy. I feel like there was a lot of media members this time around. They were really happy about that, especially like Senior Bowl guys like Jim Nagy came up and he's like, we have 200 extra people this year, and we're ecstatic about that. It's been a blast. Today I couldn't actually go to actual inside just because of the storm that's hitting here. So they had like limited media. So I was kind of virtually working through everything, and I did some calls to figure out what happened in practice today. The energy is there. I think people are excited for the game on Saturday. I mean, every Uber I took, I feel like every driver is going to go to the game on Saturday. The energy is insane in Alabama because they have finally something to look at and have fun with. So, the energy has been great. This opportunity was once in a lifetime type thing. And I can't believe it's ending. I'm leaving tomorrow. But it's been fun. It's been definitely fun.
You're not there for the game?
I mean, as I can watch it at home.
That's awesome. Yeah, right. You just wanted to suck up the stuff that other people couldn't get. I like it. That's logical. I like that, man. One more question that I want to give Frankie the opportunity. You said that there's 200 extra people, and this is why I want to ask the question. So this is Jim Nagy is excited because there's more interest, or do you know, did he invite more people, or what's the reason that there's so much more excitement about? There's more interest.
Yeah, there's more people wanting to come out, especially with COVID last year, like at full. They're happy that people are coming to go see his Senior Bowl that he's pretty much developed, and it's gotten much bigger. There's more media members there, and it's a good chance for like us, like me, who is starting up to meet top guys. Meet them, understand them, learn from them. if you're trying to go in the field. And I think a lot of people were taking notes throughout the process. So it's a learning experience for everyone. It's for the players who are playing there, getting ready for the NFL, the coaching staff who's in different positions now on the roster. And then for media members to learn how to do this job, it's like a perfect way for them to understand, it's amazing. It is amazing event.
It's incredible.
So Ali, are you able to give us a breakdown of the players? I got so many questions for you. Like, do you have like little mental notes on some of these players? I don't want to ask you a question and you're like, well, I haven't seen him. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I do. I have a lot of notes. It just depends on the player.
I bet.
Trying to ask me.
All right, I'll give you a group. I'll give you a group of three. So we heard from the national media that Bernhard Raymond, these are offensive linemen, Trevor Penning and Daniel Falele are all struggling a little bit in some of their drills and the one-on-one drills and other drills that they're doing. Has that been your observation as well? And if so, can you sort of like give us some insight into those three?
Yes. For the most part, I do feel like the offensive line has struggled massively and the defensive line has dominated through 3 days. They're just much better. I feel like they have more energy. I feel like they have just more grit on the defensive line. The offensive line struggled a lot. Besides like a handful, obviously there's gonna be a handful of people that are decently good. But like Zion Johnson, Boston College, he's impressed the heck out of everyone. He's a guy that, you see him more of like a left tackle, right tackle guy. They put him at center, and he was excelling at center. And you saw him after practice, stay after practice, stay on the sidelines and just practice snaps. And for a head coach and a GM to see that, that's what they want. This is what Mobile is about, to showcase what type of player you are, and those type of players come handy and big time moments. So I think he has had a tremendous 3 days, and I can definitely see him rising in after the Senior Bowl. I think there's a couple another OL. I'm blanking on his name right now, but there's very, very little offensive linemen that I thought were like good. So yeah, the offensive line just wasn't good at Mobile.
Is it Cole Strange? Is that the guy you were thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah, I told you, Frankie. I knew it. You know what, Ali? I saw some drills with Cole. Well, it's funny because I was thinking the same thing. Like, I'm not there, but I get to watch, like, just, later on, I get to watch a lot of the drills and one-on-ones and stuff like that. And Cole Strange was actually sticking out to me. Like every time that he was up, he seemed to be one of the few offensive linemen that could hold his own. And I knew very, very little about him. And I was like, a flag went up and I start looking into this guy and I'm like, oh, okay, I like this guy. So that's funny when you said, I can't remember his name. I'm like, ooh, I wonder if it's my new fave. You know what I mean?
And there's one other one, Trevor Penning. You probably have seen the beat reporters that talked about him. And yes, he's actually done a lot. Those are the three offensive linemen that everyone has looked at and said, yes, these are the guys that stepped up when they were asked. Penning is a Joe Douglas type player. Like Connor Hughes said it perfectly. I just saw his tweet and he said, if Joe Douglas had a type of player and he wanted to build a type of offensive lineman, it will be him. He's a massive dude, very good footwork. And he just destroys defenders. He literally tosses them on the ground. And you saw that a lot on Tuesday and Wednesday when I was there. He was tossing guys. In the rain, it didn't matter. He was tossing guys around. And that's the type of player that Joe Douglas loves. And, that's an offensive line that will make your team a better team in general. So those are the top three for me.
Now, I heard an interest.
That's probably a first-round pick, right, Ollie Penning?
Yeah.
Probably a first-rounder.
I think he's
interesting.
Yeah.
First-round pick.
10 might be too high. 10 might be too high, but if the Jets really want him, it'll be risky if they want to trade back from 10, but 10 is a little bit too high. But if they trade too low, I think he might be gone. So it's very tricky.
Wow. Now, Ali, I heard something coming out of day one. I couldn't wait to ask you this. There was word that the national team practice, see how I think about it. The national team's practice was significantly more aggressive, moving faster. They said 100 miles an hour compared to the Lions coaching of the American team. Now, my first heard that, I thought, ooh, I like that. But then they said that some guys were kind of getting nicked up too on the national side. Did you see that happening? Was that kind of your observation as well? Was the Jets practice a little bit more intense than maybe what the Lions were doing?
So from what I had pretty much been, obviously I was at Jets training camp, so I know how their practice works. And they were trying to do the same drills and team drills as they do at Jets practice with the guys. I just think they weren't ready for it, and I feel like both of the tempos for the different teams were completely different. I feel like the Lions had a different mindset on how they want to approach their team, and the Jets had a different mindset. Both were rusty. There was a lot of guys dropping passes. The wideouts are horrendous. Just letting you know that they're not great in this Senior Bowl. There's a couple that stood out, like Christian Watson. There's a couple guys that stood out, but the offense just wasn't there for receiving purposes. But the practice tempo, I think the Jets just had more energy in a way. I think the coaches were on the players, getting them ready for the NFL. You saw them in their ear yelling. You saw them fighting each other. There was fights on the offensive line, defensive line, which you love to see. That's called football right there. Those type of fights. It was like not full pads, but they were still going at it. And then you came into Wednesday, and that's when they started fighting in the rain. It was muddy. They were ready to go. And I feel like they were more animated on Wednesday, at least. The defense was going crazy on the offensive line, and you saw the sideline guys cheering for the guys. It was just a much more energetic practice, and I feel like everyone who wanted to be there, they all wanted to play. They all wanted to see their teammates succeed. So yes, the Jets practice were run perfectly. They were run really, really well, and you got to give Middleton the credit that he deserves, and all these young guys that had to step up to different positions. And I really like that how Robert Salah could step down, LaFleur stepped down, and other guys stepped up, which is a pretty cool, unique thing to do. Because a lot of these guys don't get head coaching consideration or higher position considerations from other teams, but now they can showcase now a little bit of a resume type thing for them. So it was a pretty cool thing to watch. But you just saw every practice, every drill was just smooth. Besides maybe drop passes, the bad tackling, it was definitely a good feeling. As a practice, and you saw him, you saw guys actually from the Jets team say all gas, no break a couple of times.
Oh, Frankie, you hear that? So that's starting to permeate into the minds of the youth. I like that. And Leon Washington is actually the special teams coordinator, which is so neat to see, man. So we got Middleton, obviously Calabrese and Ruttenberg, but then Leon is getting his shot with only 1 year as an assistant special teams guy. Seeing him, has he stood out to you at all, Leon Washington, in any way, shape, or form?
He wasn't very. I feel like where we were sitting, all media members, he wasn't really by us as much. But from all the videos of some videos that other reporters that were on the other side, like the fancy reporters, they showed videos of him hyping up the everyone who they are coaching. So like I said, the entire coaching staff showed energy the entire time. In the rain, they showed energy, and that's kind of what you like to see. Even Robert Salah, even though he was on the sidelines, he was still doing it. Middleton was walking to every position group and watching and observing. And he was showing how he could possibly be a head coach one day. Maybe he can coach a football team. So he was acting like an actual head coach, which is awesome to see.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Awesome. I think we have a good coaching staff, ladies and gentlemen. I think we actually do have a good coaching staff. I know it's hard to believe. Ollie, I want to ask you about the tight ends. So you mentioned the tight end group. Is there anybody separating himself? Is it McBride? Is it Ruckert? Is it who's the best? We got to know.
It's McBride by a landslide.
Really? Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah,
okay.
I do like Ruckert. I do like Ruckert a lot. I do like Ferguson. They both make plays. But McBride is a machine. He literally is. I talked to a lot of people regarding him and the Jets. The Jets are 100% interested in drafting McBride. 100%. It's just a matter of fact because he has a good game on Saturday. He's a first round talent. He could go in the first round, and it just depends if the Jets want to trade in or they want to trade back for McBride. And grab him, because that's the tough part with McBride. Obviously, you want him on your team because he was destroying defensive linemen as a blocker.
Wow.
He was catching the ball better than the wide receivers that were catching the ball. And in the rain, he was making plays no matter what. The quarterbacks loved playing with McBride. The only guy they would actually go after was McBride. Especially in tough scenarios, they would just only throw to McBride because they know he could catch the football.
We need him so badly.
I know.
Even in the rain. So one thing I noticed that a lot of people did not notice, in the rain, he had one glove on. Usually receivers and wideouts take their gloves off, both of them, but he was one of the only ones to have one glove on and the other one off. And he was still making the catch. I don't know if it helps him make it a better grip or there's something wrong with his hand. I'm not sure. But he was the only one that I noticed that had a glove on one hand during the rain. So that's something to look at. He was playing today in practice, so it should be fine. But that's something to note, that he plays with the glove in the rain, or unless he's suffering from an injury.
I want McBride, and I'm going to dig in even more. Like he's probably, there's like 4 tight ends that I really have been, that I've done the most, work on. But like last year, I fell like deeply in love with Pat Freiermuth, and I think I'm ready to get into a new relationship, guys. And I think it might be Trey McBride. That might be my guy. And I just love that the Jets, like that they're it's making sense, like what they want and how to, it seems like the guys that they want finally make sense to me. For so long, I would stare at the players that we're bringing in and I'm like, why? Okay. I mean, maybe they know, like the typical line from Jets fans about the Jets was, well, they obviously know more than we do. Like we've been saying that for years, and it's just not the case. They don't. So I like that. Like if they like McBride, like you just said, Ali, it's like they're interested in him. That would be exactly the type of player that I would want to see on the New York Jets. Now there's a comment coming in from Watch2K, who's in the background. We're going to bring him on in a little bit to help us out and do some trivia and stuff like that. You'll like that, Ali. I can't wait to see if you can help us. He stumped us 3 weeks in a row, dude. Can you believe it? Jets questions, and we can't get him. So he says
they were
this
from the Titans era, though.
Only the one. Well, maybe the two. He did have but I can't believe, we couldn't get him. It's crazy. So he says the Jets team has 12 defensive linemen versus the Lions have 9. Who on the defensive line out of those guys, who's really standing out to you? I've seen some guys like Myjai Sanders looked a little bit, pretty good. And we lost Frankie. And then another guy was Mafi. Was looking like he was standing out on the edge. But who's, from your perspective, who's really standing out of the defensive line to maybe become part of our rotation?
Do you want me to look at the Lions team or the Jets team, or like just in general?
You could, in general, you could start with one and go with the next. Just who out of the defensive linemen? Maybe start with the national team and then go with the American team.
So so the guy that everyone's talking about, is Jermaine Johnson
Yep.
from Florida State. That's the one guy that everyone has an eye on. There was a little bit of concern today because he was not at practice today. We don't know the reason why he was in the practice today, but he did not practice. But he's been dominant for at least the last 2 days. You know, he was beating his offensive lineman. He was getting to the quarterback. And when I tell you, he made sure every rep counted. He made every rep count. He was not giving up. He was getting up really quickly. He was making a move when he needed to. And I really like the twitch in his game. And I just liked how he moves his body to get around the offensive lineman. Again, the offensive line were not that great, so bear with the competition that he's going up against. But whatever he can, he was excelling at it, which was really fun to watch, to be honest, because there was not a lot of, off the defensive line feasted the entire time.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, it was just domination. The offensive line was struggling the entire time, and defensive line was heavy pressure. And it was getting boring because I'm just like, offensive line should probably do something now. But you know, you're just seeing the hype from their teammates and stuff was pretty cool to see. Let's see what other D line that I have noted here.
Yeah, it's crazy because they're the offensive line. Yeah, and I actually like a few of the offensive linemen on the American team. I actually like a few of those guys, but a little bit more. So I do like Zion Johnson a whole bunch, but largely the offensive line that we have on our side is not quite as interesting as the American roster that I've seen. But you know, the fact that, like you said, they tried out Zion Johnson at center. That's an interesting little twist from our coaching staff. Like, let's see what this guy can do with the ball in his hand, snapping it. And I like that our coaching staff took it upon themselves to say, hey man, let's try him out doing this. And then he did well. So that, to me, that's pretty interesting. It seems like they might not only be coaching him, they might be looking at some stuff. I like that.
So another defensive line guy, Zach Carter from Florida. I don't know if you guys know about him a little bit, but he was a guy that was winning his battles for most of practices. He made some pretty nice plays. Just his footwork was on point. The way he adjusted to the offense of line just pushing him away, he would kind of do like this little sidestep move that I loved. I love when players do defensive line do that. He made a move and twisted and got away. He literally went through his arms and got away, and then went for the sack. So those type of plays are not easy to do at all. And he was making that consistently. He was he was all over the quarterback's face. And that's kind of what you want, right? From a defensive line, that's a definition of a defensive lineman or an edge rush or whatever you want to call it. So he was consistently there. So those two were probably my top. There's a couple others because the defensive line just feasted. There's a lot of names I could probably list if I went through the list right now. But those are the top guys that I feel like, especially on the American team, that I was watching, because I wasn't really watching the American team as much. More focused on the national team for the most part, because I feel like national team actually had more talent on their roster. But for the American team purposes, those are the guys that I was watching, because I was right in front of the offensive line, defensive line matchups, and they were kind of going at it. So, those two are probably my top.
Very interesting.
Ali, I'm curious about if you think there's any kind of, is there anyone we could steal? Can we get some steals here? Can we get a late round sleeper? Can we get an undrafted free agent that nobody knows about that we could sign? Like, I'm thinking about the cornerback from Fayetteville State, maybe, or somebody. What are your thoughts about that?
I think he could possibly drop, but I really liked cornerback Kobe Bryant a lot. A lot of people don't see it in that, but I really do like what I saw from him. He was with the assignment the entire time. I know it's not the best. That's why I wanted Dobson to hopefully be there, because Kobe Bryant against Dobson would have been a good matchup to have in practice. That speedster and him going against him would have been a great matchup. And that would be a good test to see if Bryant was legit. But for Bryant, I think he was with his assignment, whoever it was, and he stood with them. Even when he slacked a little bit, he would make a nice play by diving in and deflecting the pass or doing something
nice
to prevent the catch to happen. So he's one guy that you got to keep an eye on for later rounds, because the Jets do need help still at cornerback. No matter what you guys say about Bryce Hall, I love Bryce Hall. I do like the young guys, but you need help. You do need help there. They need competition at that position. And I think he would be a guy that what kind of appeals to me in the later rounds if he's available. I think he definitely boosted up his draft stock just a little bit. But, he's a guy that, the Cincinnati players were insane. Even the running back was very, very good. I really do think if Bryant's there, you'd take him.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the running backs too, because Thomas Cahill in the chat brought up a question that we were going to ask anyway, and it's how have the running backs been doing? You said the receivers are having a little bit of a tough day, the offensive line's having some tough days, so that would lead to quarterbacks having tough days. How about the running backs? Has anybody stuck out? I'm really hoping you say Rachaad White. I haven't been able to see much of him at all, but anything from your vantage point as far as the running backs go?
Yeah, so there's 3 running backs that stood out to me through practices. Sorry, Bean, that was not one of them. It's Jerome Ford from Cincinnati.
Ford, okay.
He was one guy that was breaking out runs every 2 seconds, literally. He was the guy whenever he got the ball in his hands, or whether he's catching the ball or running with it, he was making a play. And a little thing that I've noticed from his run purposes is he's always looking up. A lot of running backs look down, but he was mostly just looking up, trying to find the lane of what he wants to do. And even how bad the offensive line was and the defensive line was dominating, he still somehow found lanes to go through. So that's a huge thing for a running back to do. And I feel like he was kind of just like swerving through traffic. And that's something that every coaching staff looks at. And he obviously has a acceleration that a running back needs to be successful. Another running back is Damien Pierce from Florida. He was a guy that pretty much did the same thing. And he was, I don't know, I guess the only different from his game was he liked to run out more rather than going straight. I think he was better running on the outside rather than the inside, just because he liked to get the steam of the run, and then he would just zoom through. So that was just one other thing. And then Brian Robinson from Alabama. He's also a guy that we're breaking run. Look, the running backs were catching better than the wideouts.
Really?
The wideouts were not great. I'm telling you, there's a handful of guys that I can name that I was impressed with. There is, let me have a list, actually. So what was his name? I forgot his name. Christian Watson from North Dakota State.
Right.
He was the top receiver for me. He was a top receiver because even today, his route running is smooth. It's so smooth. And his catching ability on the run is very good as well. He kind of stops and looks up and catches it. He goes up for it and catches it. And he's the one guy that was just not, especially on day one of practices, was not dropping the ball. When there's other guys. Like I was eyeing Bo Melton because I covered Rutgers for 2 years.
Right.
And he dropped passes left and right.
That's heartbreaking.
He was one of my favorites. Damn it.
We all root for Rutgers, right? We do. We got, it's just like, it's our local folks. So that's a bummer, Ali. I'm disappointed to hear that.
Yeah,
I was hoping for a
he was not
UDFA.
great. And then when in the rain, it was even worse. Like it got worse in the rain. You know,
We
he was
can't
doing
have
end
that.
around and stuff. That's all he was doing. He has a speed because when they gave him the ball to do like a quick run around, he was getting a lot of yardage after that. But he needs to improve a little bit. I think he was just too like anxious in a way where like he was anticipating the throws. Because other than Willis, the quarterbacks weren't that great. The throws weren't that great. But you know, it's just a lot of these guys are going to be overblown because of the quarterback position. It's just the quarterback position, so they all get drafted anyways. It was just not very like something that I want to watch. They were just not. Some of them were missing the wide receivers, and that's why there was a lot of drops. A lot of times they would just completely miss the receiver. So I think that played a factor in the wide receiver dropping a lot of passes. But just overall, for the wideout position, it was just not great at all. It was hard to watch.
That's disappointing. It really is. But running backs, I think we're going to take another running back this year. So
we should.
I could take a Ford. I could take Jerome Ford all day. I'll take Brian Robinson all much. Prepare
there he goes.
That's a power with Michael Carter. Now we're rolling.
Yeah. Right, man. Young legs. Bring in those young legs, everybody. So, hey, Snoopy, and I don't know how much you can answer this, Ali, but I'm interested. Snoopy wants to know, are you hearing any whispers, man? You hearing any rumors, anything chewy?
I think the Jets, I've heard from a lot of people, I feel like the Jets are trying to overhaul an offense in the draft. They want to develop Zach Wilson at a quarterback and going offensive lineman and getting a tight end possibly. You know, a lot of people are also saying the Jets might not even look at a tight end in the draft and just get if Dalton Schultz is available and they sign Dalton Schultz will be the guy for them. But then we got
Ryan Griffin, Ali. We're going to go with Dalton Schultz and Ryan Griffin and Trevon Wesco? Come on.
Hey, that's what I'm hearing. Yeah. Hey, that's what I'm hearing. That's not what I would do because I love the tight ends. I think this tight end class is very solid. So it would be if they don't end up with one of the tight ends on their roster right now, I would kind of be sad about that because I think the tight ends that they have on their roster, they got a deep look and they're the only ones that were catching the football for their football team. And I hope Robert Salah, I hope Joe Douglas was watching that because Joe Douglas focused more on the offense. And I feel like he was focusing on the offensive line and the offense in general than the defense this week because I feel like he was always on that end of the line. And you saw that through pictures probably on social media. He was always behind the offensive line, looking at the wideouts and the quarterback. So he was focused more on that deeply. Again, the McBride rumor, they want him, but they got to figure out how to get him. You know, that's the question on if they're going to actually move up, move down, you know, and just pretty much just say that McBride's our guy. How do they say that they want to trade up? So it's going to be interesting because I've never seen Joe Douglas trade up. I've seen him trade down. So I really don't want to. I don't know how he's going to do that, especially with the picks that he would have to give up to like move up back into the first. So
we did move up for AVT. Don't forget that, Ali. Yeah, we moved up, but only one. You're right. I mean, more times than not, Joe Douglas is accumulating picks. He loves it. He wants more of these draft chips for me, please. That's how he does it. So, well, one more question on the players, and I want to ask you something. I want to bring Watu K on and do some trivia with you, Ali. Linebackers. We got Chad Muma on our squad. Has he stood out? And in addition to him, anybody else that's kind of, making their name down there right now in the linebacker group?
Actually, yes. At the linebacker position, Jesse Luketa from Penn State. He was standing out. I think he had a very low-key week. He wasn't making plays like mind-boggling plays, but he was doing his job. He was a steady linebacker doing what he needs to do. He showed speed. He showed. I feel like he was showing a little bit of leadership. I think they were running sometimes through him a couple plays on defense. So I think they like him a lot. Obviously, he's from Penn State, so he knows how to play at the high level as well. So high intensity type games. So I think he was one guy that stood out because he actually was. I was watching the plays from today actually because they gave us access to it for virtual access to it, and he was actually doing a lot of work as well today. So he's a guy that's going under the radar a little bit because no one really is seeing him do flashy moves.
Right.
But I do like him a lot.
Lucetta. Ooh, I like that. I'll tell you what, I'd love if we're going to take like a late round flyer or maybe even get somebody in the undrafted free agent class. Some of these guys slip through. How they do it, nobody knows, but they do. And grabbing a linebacker from Penn State that's kind of just being quiet. Oh, that'd be a slam dunk in my book, man. I would love that. So Frankie,
yeah,
you got one more for Ali?
I'm curious about Jalen Peter. Your opinion about him, if you've seen him. He's the defensive back who is kind of a Swiss Army knife. He's safety, he's cornerback, he's a linebacker. He does it all. So I'm wondering how he has played in this particular, experience and environment.
I believe he was on the American team. I'm not sure, but yeah, I've heard
Peter?
people talk about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I saw from him, actually, I didn't pay attention way too much on him. But when I saw him making plays, and a couple of people actually behind me, like, were saying his name a lot. So they were pretty much, I heard into it a little bit. They were pretty much saying I think the Jets would have a lot of fun with it. That's what the conversation was, especially with Robert Salah with last year's draft and how he used Hamza and like they moved him around and everything.
Right.
They would love him as a piece like that because they like moving around guys for different positions. Look at Zion Johnson for the offensive line. They moved him to center. They probably would move him in different locations. Go play cornerback. Go play safety. Go play free safety. Go do whatever we want and excel at it. And I think he's a guy that you can probably place anywhere and he can succeed. He probably will be rusty at times, but he's a guy that if an injury happens, especially with the Jets, who suffer a lot of injuries for the last couple of years, will need some type of guy that can do multiple positions and step up when needed. He's a guy that probably would step in, and I think the Jets and Robert Salah would have a lot of fun with it because I feel like hopefully Robert Salah is more involved in defense this year. I feel like if Robert Salah is more on the defensive side, he would use that in his advantage and use him the right way.
Yeah, I mean, think about what you could do schematically. I mean, you can disguise what you're doing with a guy like that. Yeah. Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? Is he at the line? Is he going to drop back? Is he covering a cornerback? What is he doing? And that's great for a defense. You can really not show the offense what you're doing and get them confused, and then maybe we could get some turnovers. I heard turnovers are a good thing for a defense to get.
I've heard that too.
I've heard that from other defense. We don't know very much about that, but however, I've heard that if you can do that, that's a good thing. So that's a good way to do it. Confuse them, get some picks. I like it.
For sure.
Yeah. We are here with Ali from Loyal New York Jets fans, everybody. Ali has the distinct privilege of being down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. So we have just the amazing opportunity of getting a little bit of an inside scoop here, somebody with eyes in the room and boots on the ground, and we are grateful to have you here. Ali has an Instagram page, a Twitter page, Twitter account, and you're also on YouTube as well. But I focus on you on Instagram. That's where I see most of your stuff. But why don't you tell everybody? And your webs, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find what you got going on before we bring on Wat2K for some trivia.
Yeah, for sure. So I on Instagram and Twitter, it's Loyal NYJet fans. I usually do all my work on there. I haven't posted as much feed posts because I'm just trying to get all the text together, all like the articles together, all my just thoughts about the last 3 practices together. So I'll be creating a lot of posts the upcoming week into the weekend. I kind of just want the Senior Bowl to actually end before I start talking about it deeply. I'll have articles up starting this weekend. And on my website, it's Official Loyal Network, because I'm trying to network a little bit outer the New York Jets. So yeah, that's where you can find me. And I try to do stuff every day. I try to, but with school, it kind of gets hard a senior year. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a privilege being down here, getting the experience out here. It's been fun. It's definitely been fun.
Oh yeah. And I've been following Ali for a while now, man. And you guys, he's legit, dude. He does all kinds of events with Jets players and everything. If you're not following him, you might want to, because he's on the upswing. Let me tell you. Before we bring on Watch UK, one more quick question. Thomas Cahill, thank you for the super chat. He says, I need to know anything about a Beakatai or a Beakati or a Beakato. What do you got? Anything on Beakatoodles?
He was effective. I believe he's a D-line from Penn State.
Yep.
He, again, the defensive line dominated, and he was one of those guys that dominated. He didn't have every rep. He didn't dominate someone, but he had his moments. I don't know. I don't know if they're just coaching well, the defensive line. I don't know if the coaches are just really good, or that they're just talented players all around on the defensive line. But yeah, he definitely stepped up. He definitely made some plays and definitely got some eyes at him, looking at him. People want him. And I think he will make whatever team he goes to really happy.
Yeah, it's just so cool, man. The Senior Bowl is such an opportunity for a lot of these guys, maybe guys that are being considered, mid to late round picks. All of a sudden they get this opportunity to see him for a couple of days and they go, oh man, this guy's better than I thought he was. Or some guys, they're not even on teams' radar in many respects, and they come in here and they have a great week and now they're in the draft pool. It's really a great opportunity for these young players. I love the Senior Bowl. I think it's fantastic, and I'm happy to hear that it's getting more hype than it has been in the last couple of years. 200 additional people. That's amazing. So we're going to bring Watu-K99 on if he's ready. He's got to give me a little thumbs up action back there. And let's see. We'll give Ali a chance, see if he can see what the hell Watu-K has for us. So let's say hello. What's up, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are we doing tonight, gentlemen?
Oh, we're good. We're good. So, Watu-K, you've been able to stump us, and I'm a little angry about it. I got to tell you, I don't like it, and I think we're going to get the answer tonight, man. So, why don't you fire away? Now, remember, chat, you can't look it up. You can't look it up. You got to try to answer it with what's in your brain. I know half of you are going to tell me to go to hell and do it anyway, but I got to say it. Try not to look into the Google. And let's see if we can answer Watu-K's question. So what do you got today, buddy?
Okay, so here's the setup for the question. Last night I got to co-host, for lack of better words, the NFL Chaos show with Jeremy. Jeremy had me on for the whole show. GreenBean
right on.
did a little surprise cameo. It was a really fun show. And folks, if you haven't watched the show, it was a really fun 2 hours. But part of the show was we did this segment called Rusty's Diamonds, where our friend Rusty Spooner gave us a couple of potential late round prospects to watch. So we watched a little bit of film. And one of the guys we watched was a wide receiver from UCLA by the name of Kyle Phillips. And
my fave.
Wow. We watched a 7-minute video and we came away very impressed. I think he's on the American team in the Senior Bowl, as a matter of fact. But he had a way of getting open. He was able to make a lot of big catches in big spots, like fourth downs, overtimes, things like that. And by the end of it, we were like, who needs Barrios? Let's just draft this kid. This
right.
Awesome. Right?
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah. So because of that, I thought I would come up with a Kyle Phillips related trivia question as it pertains to the Jets. So your question tonight is this. We mentioned Kyle Phillips went to UCLA. Since 1995, so this is not a Titans era question, Frankie. 1995, the Jets have drafted one player from UCLA. Who was that player?
I know it.
All right.
I know it.
I thought you might know this one.
I know it. I hated it.
I got some info about this guy that's quite interesting. But go ahead. Yeah. Well, let's
all right. So I'm going to give Ali first crack at it. So one player since 1995 has been drafted by the New York Jets from UCLA. Do you know who it is?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. Frankie, do you got this one?
Zach Charbonnet.
Maybe
Zach Charbonnet.
He's in this year's draft. So
okay.
Probably not. I know he's from UCLA, but he's in this year's draft. So
I see it. I see it in the chat.
Yep,
I see it in the chat. Do you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I do.
A couple guys got it. So, you know what's funny? I wanted to say where the hell did what's his name? Ashton Davis play? Where did he play? Cal, right?
Cal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it popped in my head. But the answer, I'm going to just go with it, and you tell me I'm wrong. I'm very confident, Ali. I really am. His name is Shaq Evans. He was a 6th-round pick and a failed attempt at getting a wide receiver in the deepest wide receiver class of all time up to that point. We waited until the 4th and then 6th round to get somebody. His co-receiver was a 4th round. His co-receiver was Quincy Enunwa, who actually did something. But Shaq Evans did nothing for us. Is that right, Y2K?
That is absolutely correct. It is Shaq Evans. As a matter of fact, he not only did nothing for us, he did nothing for Dallas, New England, or Jacksonville. He never played in an NFL game in his entire life. However, since 2018, you know where he's been? The Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he was even named an All-Star in 2019. So he's carved out a little career for himself north of the border.
Interesting. So he is a legend in the Canadian League.
He is. Pretty solid player.
Wow.
Yeah, Saskatchewan just signed him to a contract extension.
Isn't that interesting? Like when a guy cannot make it in the NFL, they go up to Canada, and that's the difference in the talent level. When we wonder why these guys come out of school, like an example of somebody playing at the Senior Bowl, looking great, and then you draft them in the 1st round, and they come in, and they just aren't the same player because the level of competition in the NFL is so strong that sometimes great players just are not good enough. Isn't that interesting, man? So he's a legend up there for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Ali. What do you think of that? Shaq Evans. Amazing. Well, good. That was a pretty good one. So I feel good, Ali. I feel nice now. I knew it. Me, man. I know my shit. That's the way it goes.
I figured if I stepped you too many more times, you're probably kicking me off. So I figured I'd give you the
No. Is that what you did? He's like, I'm going to get an easy one for GreenBean. That's what he did.
I figured somebody would
felt easy
somewhere, but yeah, you had it quickly. So well done.
Yeah. So the Idzik 12. How interesting. So Ali, one more thing before you go, man. And then we're gonna wrap this one up. And I thank you for coming on. Just the overall, like, what's the coolest thing that you were able to do down there at the Senior Bowl? Like maybe you went to one of these meetings. Did you get to meet anybody? Did you meet any of our coaches or any of that sort of stuff? What's the coolest thing that you were able to experience down there at the Senior Bowl?
Actually, so after the press conference of Robert Salah, he was walking out, and I actually went up to him and met him. He shook my hand. We just talked.
Damn, you're lucky.
The question I asked him was, there are 3 solid tight ends on this current team that you're coaching right now. Is there any way that you're going to be approaching the tight end position this offseason? And then he, of course, gave me a coach answer, and he was like, "We're trying to upgrade every position."
You thought you could get some GreenBean insider knowledge. GreenBean would have
yum. Yeah. That was good, right? So he's a pro. He knows what he's doing. Yeah. He's like, yeah.
You're not gonna tip her hand.
But that was pretty cool.
I also mentioned to him, like, the first thing I said, I was like, "Hey, Robert, I'm so happy that you're the first Muslim head coach and like that's kind of related a little bit, and that's why he stopped. That's why he stopped. Actually, if I didn't mention that, he probably wouldn't have stopped. So I mentioned that to him, and then he opened up a little bit, and that's when he shook my hand, and that was probably the greatest moment of the entire 3 days,
Awesome.
the entire week, which was pretty cool to see.
Well, congratulations. Awesome. And smart. Good for you. That's the trick. You got to find the thing. That's going to stop the guy. That's right. And now when he sees you next training camp, when you're at Jets practice, he'll go, oh, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
How you doing? That's my friend.
Little memory trick. Nice.
Yeah, next thing you know, you'll
done,
be
Ali.
stairs right alongside of him.
That's right.
Very nice.
He's going to go, Ali, I've been thinking about you. You want to come work for me? You want to come work for me?
No, he's going to go, I'll give you the scoop, Ali. Here's a scoop. We're
That's
gonna,
right.
We're going to cut Trevon Wesco tomorrow.
That's not a scoop.
That's a scoop.
Right. So he's going to say, Ali, I'm going to give you a scoop because you know damn well I'm not giving them to Samini or any of these guys, these bozos. So I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah. Right.
You see? So that's what it is. But and I'm sure you got to hang out with all those guys as well. And that must be, I'm sure they're nice people and all that. You know how it goes. But so it's been cool, man. And look, dude, thank you for carving out some time. I know you have to be tired, and not only from what you're doing down there, but you're making the rounds too. I saw you earlier with Richie. I was with you on Tuesday night over with Ryan. And look, and I just appreciate you carving out a little bit of time and coming on here with us, man. And I'm happy for you. I think it's amazing. And I just, it's great to get the opportunity to hear some of your thoughts, and I'm grateful. So thank you, Ali.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Right on. So don't forget, you can follow Frankie from Flatbush on YouTube, the Frankie from Flatbush channel, where he has Tuesday News Day. I like that. I like that ring. And Watu you can see him down. He is the president of the Virginia Jets fan club in Norfolk, Virginia at AJ Gators, the best wings in Virginia. There it is. It's Virginia Jets fan club. And don't forget our boy in the back, Jeremy Cravette, NFL Chaos with Jeremy. And don't forget here, guys, if you haven't hit like already, please do. It's the easiest thing you can do, and it changes everything for us over here. And I'm about 15 people away from the contest being over. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do it now. Hit that little oblong rectangular red button that says subscribe. One click, it's done. And then you can win a t-shirt from the GreenBeanjetsfan.com merch store, as well as one grand prize winner will also receive the Manscaped Ultra Smooth Pack as well. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here. You guys are the absolute best. I especially want to... Yeah, please do.
Sorry to interrupt you. Stud City 718 said, "How did I get credentials again?" I'm not going to tell you obviously how exactly, but I'm going to say it takes hard work. A lot of guys come up to me and say, "How'd you get credentials at 21?" I started when I was 14. Running the page. That's how I started. So you have to grind to get where you want to be. I didn't get stuff until 5 years in. That's when I started taking off, and that's how the Jets saw me. That's why I work with athletes now, and that's why I'm in Mobile, Alabama right now. You just have to work your ass off. A lot of people, what I see from them, they want to do this, they want to do that. They talk a lot about it. Don't do it, though. That's the mentality that you can't have. So that's what whenever someone asks me that, and I had a lot of people ask me that throughout the entire week. So I want to clear that up, is that you need to work hard to get where you want to be. If you want this experience, work hard to get it. And if you, just do whatever you can, make the connections, you'll go along the field. And that's the wisdom that I'll give you guys today.
Yeah. I love
Ali's no joke.
That's right, man. Don't complain about the results from the work you didn't do, right, Ali? Right. Don't bitch about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. And that's right. When you look at Ali, he's always out there doing something, man. That's why I love him so much. That's why, right, man. That was the best damn way to close the show I could think of. That's it. How did I do it? I worked my ass off. That's how I did it. Good for you, man. I love it. And that's good information, guys. You can get somewhere. If you want something, go get it. And that's how you do it. But Ali, thanks for that final nugget. And I thank everybody for being here. Have a great night, everybody. We will see you next time.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, man. I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.